when you start working with a particular client, just say a retailer, just for the sake of argument, they obviously have called you because they see a deficiency someplace. They see things aren't humming along as well as they might. You go in and, as I said, you investigate.
Yes.
So you can see where you think the needs are. Talk about that process, and if when you finish that, do most of these employers, are they surprised by what you tell them?
Yeah, good question. I start with the business goals and business strategies because everything should support those and everybody should be aligned. Underneath that are the marketing strategies. I view training as part of an overall marketing communication strategy that has to support and execute the marketing strategies for the business. So we go through a series of discussions, business, marketing communication strategies, before we ever get around to, therefore, what should the goals of the training strategy be? Interview the ownership, interview the salespeople, get input from all aspects of the business in terms of what skills are needed to be successful and what's the status of those skills. And I'll typically, based on my experience, ask a lot of questions in areas they hadn't thought about in terms of you might need this skill, you might need that skill. We need to improve our closing skills. Well, what do you need to be able to do that successfully? Well, we need to be able to know our products. We need to be able to ask good benefits-oriented questions. We need to make good benefit statements. You start drilling down to specific behaviors, and then you can put together a plan to focus on those, improve them, and improve the marketing communications, which improves the marketing, which improves the business strategy, and accomplishes the business goals.
Are most of these people surprised when you come back and say, well, here's what I think you need here in terms of training, A, B, C, D? Are they surprised at your recommendation?
With that approach, often they are, because it's a business proposal. It's not a training proposal I come back with. Training may be the way we're going to execute and improve the business, but it's a business analysis and a business proposal, and in that context, they're more receptive because they see the benefit. It's not just I'm investing in a training program that may or may not work. It's if I invest in a training program and it accomplishes these specific things, then we will accomplish our business goals.
I see. You had mentioned earlier motivation. Mm-hmm. And I would think that would be a prime subject to tackle with almost any employer.
Yeah, it's said in my business that if you put good people in a bad environment, the environment will win every time.
Yeah.
Translate that into if they're not motivated, no matter how well they have the skills and abilities to succeed, they may not do it. I know a dealer who penalized the paychecks of his salespeople if they sold one product versus another. That was his way of getting attention. I want you to sell over here, not over there. It worked. But sales of that product, that vendor, that manufacturer probably was pretty disappointed in their sales. Well, the salespeople were not motivated to sell their products. So that whole motivation variable is extremely important. And the ability to rise above having a bad day yourself and still focus on the customer and make it a pleasant customer experience, back to our customer service conversation, those are motivation variables. Those aren't about, do I know how much this product weighs or can I measure a room? Those are about my motivation and extremely important, as well as the skill if you're motivated to be successful.
It just seems like the real basic here is to have, if we're talking about a small retailer, the owner. Get the owner motivated in the right direction, which is probably for a lot of them very, very difficult. I mean, a lot of them started out as an installer or started out as somebody working as a salesperson, end up with their own store. They probably have a lot more things on their plate than they can do in any given day, and probably motivating salespeople or even presenting a motivational front is awfully difficult for them. I suspect that's the biggest challenge.
First of all, I applaud those people for having risen from being an installer to the owner of a business. That's terrific, but you have to be careful to avoid the Superman complex, which is, I know everything because I've done it all, and I can do it all, and you ought to do it exactly my way. That isn't necessarily motivating. It may indeed be limiting, because there may be new and better ways of doing things than what the owner knows. And motivating people to go ahead and try and deliver results based on those new skills is also very important to the owner. Mm-hmm. So we talked about training largely from a sales perspective and customer service, but you can also learn how to be an effective manager, an owner of a business, and training in those skills. Extremely important so that you motivate the right way your staff for better results.
Mm-hmm. When I interview retailers, I guess since we started talking about this, I'll ask them about training. Mm-hmm. 9 out of 10 times they'll say, yeah, we have sales reps come in, and we do product training.
Right.
And that's as far as I know, the sum total of what they do in terms of training. Is that typical?
Very typical, and I believe it's because they don't know what else to do. Talking to someone like me, and there are other great people in the industry as well that can help with the training needs, helps you figure out what else is available to you and what you can do. Knowing about the product is a very small part of making a successful sale. Building a relationship with the customer, determining the customer's needs, providing solutions, being able to choose the right products for the customer, and on and on and on are all skills that are needed. A training program that is limited to the rep comes in and talks about the product is probably missing the mark on a lot of what needs to be done for the business.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you certainly need that, but that's only one element of the total, basket of needs.
Sure, and that may not even be effective training. That may be a lot of information about the product without practice on how I use that information with a customer. Or what type of customer need does this particular product deliver the solution for? And so that's how you should marry that product and present it. Mm-hmm. Those are the selling parts of the product information that many times the reps aren't equipped or don't have the time to deliver. So you get the lecture on the product and you know the details of the warranty, but not how to sell it.
I gotcha. Now, you had mentioned when you come to assess the training needs, mm-hmm. you talk to the salespeople, say you talk to the you're going to find a whole range of needs. Salesman A needs this.
Right.
Salesman B needs this. And probably there are needs that are universal and there are ones that are individual, and I suspect that's the same situation with supervisors. Obviously, you can't go and educate each person individually. How do you meet those individual needs?
You look for the common elements. 4 of the 5 salespeople have a need in a certain area. That's something you ought to focus on. It is a good way to go about that. I had an instance where I was working with a staff. The business had just launched a new marketing campaign with a new advertising slogan. And I talked to 10 salespeople from several stores in that chain. And I asked them, what's that slogan mean to the customer? And then I asked them, what's that slogan mean to you? And I got 12 different answers from the 10 people in terms of what that meant. And there were significantly different answers. There was not uniformity. And therefore, the marketing campaign may not be as effective as it could be if the in-store experience is something else. And therefore, we put high priority on making sure everybody understood the meaning of that new marketing slogan and how to effectively communicate that in 30 words or less to a customer in their own words, and yet have a consistent message that supported and reinforced what the customer sort of thought they were going to get from the marketing campaign.
Mm-hmm. I imagine any training program that you're involved in, whether it's a seminar at Surfaces or a seminar training mm-hmm. a company or a client, I'm sure as many people as are sitting out there in the audience, I imagine half of them probably don't even want to be there and don't even know why they'll be there.
More than half.
Is it really? Yeah. Whatever it is, a lot of
yeah.
them don't see the need, hey, I know this stuff, what am I doing here, or something. And I'm sure a minority are really open-minded and are taking in what you're saying. How do you deal with that?
You have to deliver value. Not unlike a customer walking into a store, make a good first impression and then deliver value, and deliver something that no one else can. If they can get the same training from any one of 20 sources or from a 5-minute video on YouTube, what value are you delivering? But what is it about your training that makes it effective, makes it engaging, gives people a chance to practice, gives them feedback and reinforcement so that when they leave, they have new skills that will make them new money? That's what you have to deliver. And you need to start that right out of the gate because you know you have people who started out thinking they didn't really want to be there. One of the best compliments I ever got after a training program was a gentleman afterwards who said, that wasn't at all like training. I learned some things.
What a concept.
That tells you where their minds are at when they come into the training.
Well, it tells you what a lot of training is, I suppose.
It happens. And so we have to address that and deliver quality training because people are investing very valuable time, very valuable money. They're off the sales floor. They're not making a sale. While they're with you, it better be an investment of time and money that delivers results, and that's what we try to give people.
Do you make a statement up front to try to set that up, the fact that, hey, by the end of this, hopefully you're going to actually learn something no matter how lousy your attitude is.
I don't put it quite that way,
Well,
but you do have to start with expectations and managing expectations. Not only what I think people are going to get, but I ask the audience, what do they want to get from the training? And I try to deliver on those needs and customize and personalize live as we go through the training program. Sure, I have an outline. I have typically materials we're using, but we try to meet the individual needs and the collective needs of the group sitting in the chairs that day. And I often like to state the objectives of the training program as something other than, at the end of the day, you will have learned to do such and such. Rather, you've probably got these questions. You've probably got these needs. We're going to help you answer those questions, develop the skills to meet those needs, and then I ask people to add to the list and try to address those. And I always, at the end of the session, before we leave, go back to that list and say, how did we do? And if there's something we missed, let's try to cover that too.
Okay, so then you see somebody up there that you imagine, hey, this guy doesn't want to be here, his head's someplace else in the first place. You ask him a question, and that at least educates you to where he's coming from and gives him an opportunity, or you can see where his head is in something.
Sure, that question might be something like, Bill, what would make this day valuable to you?
Yeah.
I know you've got 35 years of experience. You really know how to do your job. You wouldn't be in the job 35 years if you weren't very good at what you do, because it's a commission job and you don't survive if you're not good. Given all that, what would make this day valuable to you?
Yeah.
And then try to deliver that.
I see. Now, you had mentioned coaching earlier. Now, I've been to seminars. Everybody's been to seminars. Hey, this is really really good stuff. You get on the plane, you go home. You don't change anything.
Right.
Even though you felt it was good and you took notes and you learned things, you don't ever look at them again. I guess coaching, that's where coaching comes in, I guess. Now, having somebody who is a adequate coach and get their head in the right place, that would seem to be an uphill battle almost.
Yeah, and coaching is a skill as well,
Yeah.
right? Not every professional athlete makes a good professional coach, right? We've seen that over and over and over again. Well, coaching is a skill set. And so what we try to do is equip the people who are going to be in the coach's role with materials to help them do the job. And if the owner of the business is interested, a training class on how to be an effective coach, because there are skills involved there too. Some coaches think coaching is yelling at people till the people get it right. That's probably not effective. So what are the skills and how do we develop and practice those skills, and what are the tools they can use to be an effective coach? A very important part of making training effective.
Yeah, that would seem to be a pivotal part. I mean, and it's, everybody can get excited for an hour or even, an hour once a week. But to have that pay off over time and improve on a regular basis, I mean, that's the hard part.
It sure is, and the role of that coach is to expect you to do what you've been trained to do, reinforce it when they see that happening, or fix it if it's not happening, and that's where the tools help a coach be effective as well.